Okay, so welcome to part 15 of this series. We're basically just going to carry straight on from where we left off, which was we have just sanitized the data that is being input by the user here, and we're going to use it now in our query. So the query is going to be another quite a sort of awkwardly long one, so we're going to define an SQL variable to contain the SQL, and this is going to be equal to the actual query. So the query is going to be an insert query, and we're going to be inserting into the messages table, which is called conversations messages, and the columns that we're going to be inserting into are going to be the conversation ID, so conversation ID, the user ID, the message date, and finally the message text. And the values we're going to be using for these are going to be the specified conversation ID, so this is just the conversation ID variable. The user ID is in the session, so this is the session sessioin, don't even know what that says, session user ID variable. The message date is going to be the current date, which again is just Unix timestamp. And the message text is just the text variable, like so, and that needs to be in quotes because it's a string. Okay, so that's that done. Final thing here is to actually run the query. So MySQL query of SQL. Now there is a slight problem, or maybe not a problem exactly with this, but maybe just a feature you might want to have differently. At the moment, the way this will just insert the message. Which is fine if that's all you want to do, but you have to think about users who have actually deleted this conversation. For them, the conversation won't reappear, which is something you might want to have happen. So say if someone sort of creates a conversation and they think that conversation is over and they delete the message, the other person then replies, the first user won't get the reply. So a way you could do this, or work around this potential problem, is to have the message sort of undelete itself for all of the members. Obviously, only if they have actually deleted it, but it won't have any effect for if they haven't. And that would make it sort of reappear in their inbox, which again could potentially be annoying. So it's kind of up to you, depending on how you want it to work. This way that I've got at the moment would stop people from like spamming and having their spam reappear. That should be a lowercase r. Okay, sorry. Anyway, the way you could do this is just by running a second query here, which would be quite a simple one. So you can just do it in a query function like so, and it would just be a simple update conversations members set conversation deleted equal to 0, which means not deleted, where the conversation ID is equal to the conversation ID variable, like that, and that would pretty much work, typos aside, and that again, like I said, it would make it reappear for members that had actually already deleted the conversation. But for the reasons I said previously, i.e. it might be annoying to have deleted messages keep reappearing, I'm not going to be doing that for the sake of this video, but I just thought I'd throw it in as kind of something you might want to do type thing. Anyway, that's this function complete, so let's just quickly comment what it does, which is adds a message to the given conversation. Not S. Okay, there we go. So we should be in a position where we can test this now. So if we go back to our page and just make sure we're calling it properly, which it looks like we are. So let's go and update, go back to our browser and reload it, like so. We can click that to make sure the error message is still appearing, and then we can enter a message like test, click add message, and we get call to undefined function add conversation message, which is odd. Why is that happening? Conversation message, and I have most likely, yep, put an S there. Okay, so reload, ignore that, and there you go. You can see that Bob has inputted a message. And now this is that problem that I mentioned earlier on. You can see that my message is unread, and that doesn't make any sense at all, because my message, well, it doesn't make any sense. I typed it, it should not appear as that. And the reason for that is that if we just go back to our page and scroll down to here, we're fetching the message, which includes my message, before updating the time. So what we need to do if if you've actually submitted a message on the current page load, is actually update the time first. Alternatively, what we could do is make it sort of hard-coded that all of my messages are read. So if we just go to the private messages backend file and look for our fetch messages function, which is here, what we could do as part of our unread condition is see if the user ID that posted this is not the current user. However, that is quite an awkward way to do it, and it makes the SQL quite long. And also, it's technically the wrong place to do it, because technically the message is unread, i.e. they haven't loaded the page while it's on the screen. So really it isn't read, so we don't want our functions to return wrong values. We just want it to display as that. So anyway, the workaround I came up with for this is just to, if they have submitted a message, do this first. So it's quite a messy way of doing this really, but it does seem to work. So yeah. So what we can do is check to see if the form has been submitted here. So we can do a simple if is set post message, not submit. Can't believe I was about to do that. Wow. So if they have submitted the message, we want to act in some way differently. Else we'll just do the standard fetch and then update. And if they have submitted a message, we want to update the time, and then fetch the message. So we'll just move this above, and that's it. So now if we submit a, well actually let's just reload this page to see that my message will in fact go red, and then let's submit something else which is going to be red, and you can see that now appears as unread, because it just makes more sense that way. Okay, so I think that might actually be the end. So let's just, for the sake of testing, log out, and we'll log in as me. So let's log in as myself, and we'll look at my messages. So let's go to 1, and you can see that Bob has given these messages. So if we reload the page now, they'll go red because we've seen them. And if I reply with I replied and add a message, that appears as unread. And then if I log out and log in as Bob again, and you can see this appears like this, but I didn't show you that before. But anyway, let's read that, and you can see that I've replied with the only message which Bob hasn't read yet, which is at the top. So now we are pretty much back with what we started with. So after 14 parts, 15 parts, however many parts it is, we've finally finished and created a pretty much working and quite useful private messaging system. So hopefully you enjoyed this tutorial. If you did, no, I'm not going to say it. If you did, then good. Yeah. Then actually I would quite like to know if you kind of liked the idea of it being a kind of mini project, i.e. including the first 2 things as well. It took quite a lot longer. I've been recording now for about 3 hours, so yeah, it's quite a long session. But anyway, that's enough of me talking. I'm going to release a second video for that, I think. Anyway, stop talking. So thank you for watching. Hopefully you found this useful, and come back for future videos.